Hey everyone, and welcome to Mom, Mimi, Unfiltered, the podcast where we keep it real, raw, and relatable. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Zuni, and we're here to share unfiltered conversation about life, love, family, and everything in between. Nothing is off limits, from generational differences to parenting perspectives. We're diving deep, we're laughing loud, and we're learning as we go.
So let's grab a cup of coffee, let's get comfy, and let's get into today's episode.
Today's episode is going to be
About Jeanine Shapiro's,
initiative,
yeah,
like parents being held accountable, like parent accountability.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So I think it's fascinating that an act has finally come out about parents having to take accountability for their children's actions due to the issues that have been taking place currently.
So I agree to an extent because reading into it and, kind of doing little research, it's a good thing, but this initiative is coming about because of the recent teen takeovers of malls and 7-Elevens and different locations where these teens are doing like mass takeovers and just
Yeah.
doing mass gatherings at certain
Yeah.
places. So I agree with it, but I think it's something that should be expanded a little bit more because I think that when parents know that they're going to be held accountable for their children's actions, they're, more inclined to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that their kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, because you have said it in many episodes, children are extent of the parent.
Well, you said that too.
True.
But don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a parent and I get it. You can't be everywhere that your child is, and you can't make sure that they're doing the right thing 24 hours a day. But if you know where your child is and what your child is doing, and you're monitoring what they're doing, and you know who they're with, and they're included in activities, they have chores at home, they should be home at a certain hour, then you're doing the right thing as a parent. But if your child is out there all hours of the day and night and you don't know where your child is, and there's no check-in time, there's no where are you and who are you with,
Mm-hmm.
there is no are your chores done, uh, you can't leave the house, or you have to be back home at a specified hour. That's different. Parents that are really, you know, checking in with their kids, trying to make sure that their kids are where they say they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's something that has been done with me and you. Anytime I would want to stay out of the house for a little bit, I would always tell you where I'm going. Like, say if I wanted to go to like Starbucks or whatever, I'll tell you what my itinerary is so that you at least know what I'm doing, where I'm at, and who I'm with.
Well, for me, it's more of I'm a paranoid parent, and I want to make sure that you're okay, and I want to make sure you get to where you're going safely. So for me, it's good for us to check in with each other and know that, hey, I got here and I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different than checking in. So that, but that's another reason. That's another thing where parents should want their children to check in so that you know that your child got to where they're going safely. You know,
Mm-hmm.
hey, mom, I'm at school. I just got here. I'm okay. You know, like before when I was growing up, there were no cell phones. There was no way of us letting our parents know where we were, that we got somewhere safe. And it wasn't until the end of the day where, you know, if something happened to a child, the parent wouldn't know until the kid just didn't come back home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, a scary thought. And it's scary that, you know, that's the way that we lived at one point, that now, you know, as soon as something happens, you're able to know right away.
Yeah.
But
That's also the why I find Maya so very important nowadays because it can find where your child is.
right, and that too, like the find my phone, or kind of like how we have our
Yeah.
location set, that, you know, wherever it is that you are, even if you don't check in with me, I can see through my phone where you are by
Mm-hmm.
your phone's location. And you can see where I am by my phone's location, even if I didn't check in. Because me as an adult, whenever I leave the house and I'm going somewhere, I let you know when I've arrived safely as well, so that
Mm-hmm.
you don't worry about me. So it's kind of, you know, it goes both ways. It's, I don't want you to worry about me, and I don't want to have to worry about you. So we have those check ins where we let each other know, hey, we're here, we're okay. When I'm done, I'll let you know, and I go to my next thing, or my next location.
Yeah.
And some people might think that's a little too much, and some people might think that, you know, those are things that only a helicopter mom does, that a helicopter mom needs to know everything. And I don't feel I need to know everything. I just want to know that you're safe and you're okay. That's just the way I've always been.
Mm-hmm.
And if your sister and your brother were here, it'd be the same thing with them. Because even with your sister, she may have her own family, and she may have her husband and her kids. And every now and then, if I don't hear from her, what happens? I worry.
Mm-hmm.
I worry, and I start to message her, and I don't hear back from her. I start to get anxious, and I start to reach out to anybody else that knows what's going on with her, because I worry. Because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter how old you are as, you know, a person's child, that parent is going to worry. That
Yes.
parent is always going to be worried. That parent is always going to want to check in. That parent is always going to want to make sure you're okay. But, you know, kids are young and they don't understand that because they're young and
Yeah.
they're immature, and they're just, you know, concerned about the moment, and they're not looking towards the future, and they're not looking towards
Yeah.
what happens after whatever it is that they do at the current time. But, you know, the initiative for these gatherings and holding parents accountable, I think that it's a good thing. I think it's a step in the right direction. I just wish that it was across the board on a lot of other things, because you know that we live near high school.
Yeah.
And since, well, we live near several high schools, and several of these high school students throughout the year decide that they want to come into this building and the surrounding buildings
Mm-hmm.
that don't have a doorman, or that they're able to access, you know, freely, without there being anyone there, you know, in the lobbies to, you know, deter them from coming in. They come into these buildings, they hang out in the stairwells, they smoke marijuana, Their parents aren't even aware that they're coming into these buildings. I'm sure of it. And it's a shame because even there's been a time or two where it's kids that live in this building bringing their friends from these schools to the stairs to smoke marijuana, and they're not understanding that if you live here and your parent is reported to management, your parent is going to get into trouble and into some type of situation because of something that you're doing, because of your action. So that may not be a legal thing, but it's something where it affects where you live.
Yeah.
So why would you come into a building where you live and bring other people to destroy the quality of life in a building where you live? And then these other kids, they won't do it in their own buildings, but they come to other people's building to destroy the quality of life for others, which I don't think that they quite understand that concept either. Of they feel that they're not doing anything wrong. They feel that by them just coming into the building and smoking marijuana, they're not hurting anyone. They're not doing anything wrong. Because, yes, marijuana now is legal in New York City, but you're a minor. You shouldn't be smoking it, but again, you're trespassing. Like, you're in a building where you don't live, you're still trespassing.
Yeah. And back then, it wasn't as aggressive as it is now, because now children will bang on your door and make a ruckus, but back then it was more quiet. But I'm of the opinion that it shouldn't have escalated this way. It shouldn't have even occurred.
Well, right, because we haven't even gotten to that point that it started with them just coming into the building and smoking marijuana. Now it's escalated to the point where they're either kicking people's doors in the building or hitting people's door in the building in some way.
And some of them will just come in and do what they gotta do and leave.
Right. So they think that that's harmless, but it's kind of like hitting and kicking the door is kind of like a ding dong ditch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we banged your door and it's like a harmless prank, but it's not. Because you don't know whose door you're banging on. You don't know whose door you're kicking.
Yeah.
That it could be it could turn into something worse for the child or for the adult that's living in the apartment. Because what if it's an elderly person that has a heart condition or someone that has some type of condition that, they panic or something happens from the fear of them hearing that loud bang? So, kids will be kids, and we understand that kids do stupid crap. But when you're a teenager, you're no longer considered a kid. You're an adolescent. You should know better. Like that kicking the door and hitting the door, ding dong ditch type of thing. That's a thing you do in childhood. You're no longer a child. You're in high school.
Yeah.
So that behavior should not be taking place anymore. And you should have the mentality of, this is wrong. Like, I shouldn't be doing that. Or would I like this to be done to my door?
Exactly. And
or to my parent or to myself.
And it's, I think what it is that some of these kids are not really considerate lately. Like, the consideration for people has gone out the window. Like, I know for a fact that in my generation, we wouldn't be having that. We would be doing our thing, going about our day and coming home. But these kids, these 17-year-old kids, 17, 14-year-old kids, they're almost to adulthood. And the fact that they're not realizing what's right and wrong, that's bad. That's real bad.
Well, like I said, they're not children anymore. That phase of life should have passed already. And this is where I say parents should be held accountable. If your child's supposed to be in school and your child is in someone's building smoking marijuana or kicking their door or trying to disturb someone's peace in a building where they don't live, they should be, the parents should be held accountable. Because I know for myself, I have physically gone to the high schools to notify the schools of these kids' behaviors when they come into this building where we live. And there's been meetings at the precincts where I'm seeing people from other buildings in this neighborhood complaining about the same thing. And it's become a bigger problem where you think they're only doing targeting specific buildings, but they're not. They're targeting like any building that they can get into and any building that doesn't have a doorman. And how do these parents not know that their children are smoking marijuana? How do these parents not know that their children are skipping school and cutting school and they're in a building where they don't live, they don't know what could happen to them, and it's 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning when you should be in school, you should be at your second, third period class already, and you're
Yeah,
hiding
second, third
right.
period.
So you're in someone's building in the stairwell where anything can happen to your child, and then when the worst thing happens in a place where your child shouldn't be, a parent wants to be like, oh, my child was so good. My child was the best. My child could do no wrong, but your child is in a building where they don't belong, smoking marijuana and kicking people's doors, and your child is the best, and your child is so well behaved and is so good, but you had no idea your child was in somebody's building.
Yeah, I don't get how parents can delude themselves.
Or it's been brought to the school's attention, and I'm sure when it's brought to the school's attention, it's brought to the parents' attention, and still nothing changes. The cycle still continues. And that's for me where I don't understand, because when I was in school, if anyone complained about anyone in that generation, we were all petrified. We were all scared shitless that we were gonna get our asses whipped when we got home.
And that's why there's okay, so I ran into a video on TikTok, and it was about how this couple was gentle parenting their child. And I'm like, I've noticed a lot about gentle parenting and permissive parenting versus parenting from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are not petrified of their parents anymore. They are not. They don't have that fear of God in them. They don't. Because I know for a fact that if I had been doing what these children are doing, oh, my butt would be scared, because I know if my teachers told you anything,
I would have
it would be over.
I would have grabbed you by your neck. I would have grabbed you by your neck and be like, what? You did what?
So I'm like, these children have no fear because their parents are gentle parenting or permissive parenting. So I'm like, these parents need to get back on that ball and being more disciplined with their children.
Right. And if one thing isn't working, try something else. Like, there are so many different things you can try as a parent and do as a parent, that you don't have to just parent one way and be like, oh, well, I want a gentle parent or I want to be the strict parent. You can try different things, because everything or one thing is not going to work for every child. Every child is different. But you still have to try to make sure that you discipline your children correctly, so that things don't get out of hand, that next thing the government takes over on how we raise our kids. That now we're in trouble for everything our child does. And that's where it looks like it's going to lead up to, if parents don't start to take control of what their kids are doing and how their kids are behaving. Because when I was growing up, I never heard of these takeovers on a mall, or these takeovers on a 7-Eleven, or kids weren't gathering together and doing things like this and stealing from stores and doing all of this craziness. It was never heard of.
Wait, they be stealing from stores?
Yes, there was a 7-Eleven takeover where I don't know where it was. I think it was in California or Florida. I'm not sure. But they took over a 7-Eleven and they took whatever they could ransack. They took whatever they wanted, and they walked out of the store, and there's nothing anyone can do, because if it's a small group, okay. But if it's this mob of teenagers, what could one or two people do? Nothing. You can maybe grab one or two of them, but who's going to grab the rest of them? And then if there's no police available and no police responds quickly, you can't really hold all of those kids accountable, because you don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to hold them accountable is to rewind the footage and identify them that way. But again, if when you guys were younger and something like that would happen, and for me as a mother to get a phone call or to actually see it out there in public and know that you guys were a part of that, I would be angry. I would be so angry. I would be so devastated as a parent, and I would be disappointed, because I know that I'm not raising my kids to do stuff like that. And, peer pressure is a thing. And that's one thing I was always grateful for being taught at a very young age, is to not follow what other people do. Because once you follow what other people do, you get yourself into trouble. So you become a follower. You're following, you're not leading. And you need to lead by example and not follow the people that are trying to take you down that road with them.
Mm-hmm.
So if the people want to destroy their lives and go down that road, you let them. And you take a different path, and you do the right thing, and you do what's right for yourself, and you take a different path. Because people are not going to ask you to join them to do something amazing, to do something great. But when they know that it's something bad that they're going to do and something that they shouldn't be doing, of course they're going to ask you to join in.
I'm just wondering if this generation knows the saying, if your friend jumps off a cliff, will you do it too? Because that's something that was frequently asked of my generation. Would you do what your friend does if they did X, Y, and Z?
Well, this generation knows it well, because this generation is doing it. And, social media plays a big part in what's going on, because in a way it's a good thing and a bad thing, because at least you have evidence as to what's happening and who was involved. But, do you want to be, viral because of something bad, or do you want to be viral because of something good?
Mm-hmm.
Going viral for doing something absolutely dumb,
Yeah.
doesn't get you any brownie points.
Yeah, it just makes you look horrible.
And you're having a viral moment. And then what happens after that moment is gone? You know, you're destroying your life over a moment.
Mm-hmm. These kids don't care about their futures. They really
Because,
don't.
and at the end of the day, you know, things that you do, even as you're young, it follows you. It follows you for the rest of your life.
Yep. And they said that we should let the younger generation take over after this. I don't want to
No,
let the younger generation take up over after this because I'm like,
no,
I
there's no
don't trust
way.
them to do what's right for this world.
No, there's no
I'm
way.
scared.
I don't know, but you know, the punishment, or you know, the punishment for parents when it comes to, you know, children doing things like, I don't know what type of punishment would take place if like they have knowledge or know about like the mass gatherings. I'm guessing that maybe they would, you know, get a fine or get some probation or something like that. Or I guess it's depending on the crime as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's not gonna get any better if parents don't step up and start to make sure that their children are walking in the right path and the wrong in the right direction. And I think that, you know, the government is going to continue to step in more and more as parents step back from
That's
being parents
that's
and from
sad.
parenting their children. And you know, it's crazy because, you know, we want to be able to live our lives and do what we need to do
Mm-hmm.
without having the government tell us how we're supposed to live our lives each and every day, and live by all of these rules that are set in place because all of a sudden people don't know how to act and people don't know how to be civil.
Like I said, it's sad that the government has to take over as the parent when the parent should be the parent.
Right, but then people want to get upset and feel like our freedoms are being taken away from us.
Well, you're giving
Right, but
you're
they're
giving
not
them a
right.
reason. You're
Exactly.
giving them a reason. If you don't give them a reason, they won't do it.
Exactly.
Step up. Like I don't understand.
Well,
I
that's
don't.
that's the part where I don't understand. Like, I don't want to be held accountable for what my children do, because whatever they do, whatever choices they make because they're adults. You guys are an adult. You know, you guys are adults now. But even when you were younger and you made stupid choices, I wouldn't have wanted to be held accountable for what you're doing. But I made sure as a parent that I was there as a parent, and that I made sure that you guys did the right thing and made sure that you guys weren't doing anything stupid.
So I just think about the shit that I did. You would wring my neck so bad if this law had been a thing.
Exactly. So, you know, and I as a parent would have been so disappointed in my kids that I tried to raise right, to be held accountable for the stupid crap you do. But like I said, at least as a parent, I was there. I made
Mm-hmm.
sure that whatever corrections needed to be made were made. And I made sure that I taught you guys well, and I taught you guys right from wrong. And I made sure I knew where you guys were at all times. Even when you were with your father, I knew what was going on with you. I knew where you were.
Mm-hmm.
So these parents now, it's like, I had a kid. They're supposed to be in school. I sent them to school, and that's it.
I just know that when I have kids, they ain't doing social media until they're teens.
Well, you didn't have social media for a very long time. You weren't allowed to have social media for a very long time. I don't even remember when I finally let you have social media. But
It goes into my late
it
teens.
took me a long time because I felt that social media wasn't something I wanted you, to be involved with at a young age. But now, parents just don't parent the same way. Like things, and I get it. Times are different, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to or want to be a good parent. You don't want your children to walk in the right path. Kids don't raise themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Kids don't automatically know right from wrong. Like that's why they have parents to teach them right from wrong.
Yeah. And I get that socialization also takes place in schools, but the majority of their lessons come from a young age at home.
Right? And you want your kids to do better than what you did, when you were younger, and even as they get older, you want them to do better. You want them to be better. So why wouldn't you push your kids? Why wouldn't you, support your kids? Why wouldn't you be there as that parent and, cheer your kid on to be a good person and a good adult and grow up to be a good law abiding citizen, not someone that wears an orange jumper.
Don't raise a crook, people. Don't raise a crook.
So I'm grateful that I don't have young kids anymore. I'm glad that my kids were brought up in the generation where they were, and that my children grew up to be respectable and smart and good people, law abiding people, and that my kids grew up to be good human beings, that I didn't have to, you know, run for any reason because they did anything they weren't supposed to do and they weren't involved in any of these things. I always taught you guys to not follow along with what everyone else does. And I'm glad that I didn't have those heartaches of worrying about you guys following what other groups were doing and whatever your friends were doing.
I was too much of a lone wolf anyway, so.
And yes, I'm glad you were a loner. And, although the other two liked to have their friends, they never got into issues that involved groups of people or involved their friends. So I think that, even as a single mom, I did the best that I could, and my kids didn't come out to be rotten because that's not what I wanted for them. And any parent that doesn't want that for their child will succeed because that's what you want and that's what you strive for. But if you don't care what your child does and it doesn't matter that your child is running the street, then you have to prepare for whatever is to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I worry for my grandchildren because, they're young now and we don't know what life is going to be like as they grow. And if laws and things are going to change as they grow, and they're kind of being raised in a lenient household that's gentle parenting. And from what I see so far, it worries me that gentle parenting is not working. And I hope that things change. And I hope that, these kids don't turn out to be menaces. They turn out to be, good human beings also.
That's why grandma's there.
Right, but grandma's not there to raise the grandchildren.
True.
Grandma's only there to spoil the grandchildren.
But she can't
That's it.
speak up.
But of course,
Yeah.
you know, you can always give feedback, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be something that is going to be
Yeah.
taken in well. And all of you guys are going to raise your kids your own way. And, you know, only the results will tell you whether you did a good job or not. My results say I did a good job. So I'm okay at the end of the day with the job I did as a parent.
Mm-hmm. I
But
think you did a wonderful job.
thank you. But I say I approve of this initiative. I think that they need to do more. I think they need to hold more parents accountable to a lot of other things
As do I.
that their children are doing. And unfortunately, if, you know, things need to get tighter and stricter for parents, then, you know, it's only these parents that aren't parenting that are bringing it, you know, upon themselves. And I've said my piece.
I have said mine.
I think I'm going to leave it there. And we're going to see everyone
In the next.
in the next.